Thank you for joining us. I'm Gord Long, co-founder of MATA SII. Our strategic investment initiatives are presently being pulled in two directions, and it is important that you understand the two distinct tectonic forces currently in play. In this regard, I'd like to briefly discuss the following in putting these two tectonic forces in perspective, as well as considering a new major development I'll call Trumponomics. The first tectonic force impacting the global economic environment and investments is the end of the debt supercycle. It is completing a very long-term technical formation shown here called a megaphone topping process, which suggests a historic and almost cataclysmic ending lies ahead, or at least potentially lies ahead. Some simple back-of-the-envelope arithmetic shows why, from a macro perspective, this is the case. Though we have apparently experienced a so-called economic recovery since 2007, the central banks of the developed economies must still flood the financial markets with over $200 billion of liquidity per month. This is because the global debt burden is simply too great relative to real wealth creation. Exploding credit growth has been sustaining the mirage of economic growth, but has slowed and is now becoming more problematic than helpful. What lies ahead is potentially terrifying financially. We have long ago crossed the Rubicon where the global economy is on credit life support until an economic miracle possibly occurs, or the economic distortions and unintended consequences of monetary malpractice leads to yet another financial crisis, further out and extended further. The next financial crisis, if it is allowed to happen, will be global in nature, much larger, and incredibly more complex to actually resolve. Either real debt financing must be reduced further, even with $12 trillion of global debt already priced at negative interest rates, or global growth must somehow be further stimulated. There is little doubt in my mind that central bank balance sheets will be further increased in 2017. I have believed that for some time, that coordinated massive infrastructure fiscal stimulus is going to become a hot subject soon after the U.S. elections are concluded, and we're already beginning to see that. Global policy setters are acutely aware of this, and therefore we can expect there to continue to be no extent to which they will not go to avoid this from occurring. The policies of extend and pretend and kick the can down the road initiated after the 2008 financial crisis have become a marathon endurance test with no finish line in sight. As a CIO of Allianz recently stated during a Bloomberg interview, government programs to sustain this marathon, such as financial repression, will be with us for the next generation. These programs shown here can potentially lead to what I have referred to as a Minsky Melt-Up. This is the second tectonic force at play. Which will be the strongest? It makes all the difference in the world. The June 2016 Brexit vote, the November 2016 U.S. election, the December 2016 Italian referendum are only the beginnings of major shifts occurring in the political arena that is centered on a populist shift towards anti-globalization, anti-establishment, and anti-status quo. 2017 will show this to be major in scope as investors go to the polls in France, Germany, and many countries around the world. Lack of economic growth and falling real standards of living are the root cause, as basically the social contract is now breaking down. New popular political platforms are taking hold, which on the surface seem like a breath of fresh air, but they're coming into play at potentially exactly the wrong time regarding the two tectonic forces at play. They potentially make things much worse or cripple and throw a monkey wrench into programs such as financial repression aimed at further keeping the system on life support. If this is not enough, the U.S. and the developed economies face major headwinds already in play and not being addressed. Maybe headwinds is too light a description. Maybe a hurricane is more appropriate. The core issues that ignited the 2007 financial crisis were never fixed. I wrote then that what I felt would occur as a consequence is graphically shown here. It has unfolded as I predicted, but it has taken longer than I initially guessed. We have moved from a political crisis through economic dislocations and now have entered the most serious stage, political instability. The crisis ahead will be global in nature and likely centered out of the approximately 600 trillion, let me repeat that, 600 trillion over-the-counter, unregulated, and non-transparent swaps market, which underpins global interest and currency rates. The acknowledged global bond king Bill Gross, PIMCO fame, recently laid out the plan presently being executed by global policymakers. It isn't pretty, but seems to be their only choice. We are now at the stage, according to Gross, where we will now begin to emphasize fiscal as opposed to monetary policy, but never mention Keynes or significant increases in government deficit spending. We instead will only use the buzzwords of infrastructure spending and lower taxes. Everyone wants those potholes fixed, don't they? Everyone wants lower taxes too. This stage reinforces the tectonic force of the Minsky Melt-Up. What few understand is that both tectonic forces end badly, and the powers to be know this. As a consequence, they are using their present powers of controlling interest and currencies to convert artificial wealth, or paper wealth, to real wealth and real ownership, which smart investors will also do. Our strategic investment initiatives will help you with this, as all these forces play out. That is the goal of our SIIs in 2017. This battle will take a while to unfold, though. The 2017 MATA SII efforts will be to stay focused on what will be the most strategic investment initiatives to consider in the near term, the intermediate term, and the long term. Thank you for listening.